it just all comes apart for EDG.
You have basically no damage if Jinx dies on this team.
Yeah,
That's what it feels like.
Especially since Malphite's not going to be building an Abyssal here up against the Fiora, so you don't even have that option necessarily.
And in days of past, when you picked Fiora before the rework, she couldn't do anything against Malphite. But now, I actually think this is a heavily advantaged matchup in lane for the Fiora. Ottawamne can use Riposte on pretty much any meaningful damage that Malphite comes out with, even the ultimate. I've seen a couple Fiora-Malphite games where the Fiora gets over 100 CS ahead of the Malphite if they get some free time in the laning phase. I still like this draft from H2K.
Orianna coming in as the last pick here. Just a good lane matchup up against the Lulu, generally speaking. So trying to control Pawn in the laning phase, Ryu. And Pawn both selecting that teleport now. Could be a little bit wild here early, but H2K, if they get ahead, EDG doesn't have an answer to a split-pushing Fiora in this game. That is a big concern for them. H2K has an advantage in a 1-3-1 as well with the Orianna compared to the Lulu, so...
I also really love Orianna in protection-based compositions on the opponent's side because the Shockwave gets so much AoE damage and can be so disruptive to the overall flow of things. You can't shield everyone at once if they're staying close together. And Tahm Kench, Lulu, and Jinx are very likely to be fairly grouped up in a lot of these team fights.
Yeah, true enough. And if Tahm Kench doesn't get Jinx inside him as fast as he can, that could be a very dead AD carry very fast. So the coaches will shake hands, and we are about to move into the game. H2K, I think, with a great chance here against EDG, but now the question is, you know, will EDG finally be able to sort of counter those demons that have plagued them today, have a convincing win for once in their second week here?
I think this says a lot about EDG's mentality. They're putting all the eggs in the def basket right now. Amazing J hasn't showed up this tournament. Just put him on something where he has to press R and initiate for Deft.
He's been pretty much just J this time around.
Yeah, just J.
Only J. Not the cool J from Men in Black, just a regular letter J.
I would just say lackluster J, actually. I would actually demote him below J.
Below average J. Oh. Well, we'll see if he can regain his amazingness. That's a word now. I invented it. As we see EDG step out onto Summoner's Rift against H2K. These teams, possibly their last games in groups.
Yeah, and what I find so funny is even though this group stage has been so vastly different than expectations, EDG's path has been almost identical. Last year, they were placed in a group with the dominant Korean team, lost to them both games, then lost to the underdog, went 3-3, and had to play a tiebreaker. It could be almost exactly the same situation here if they drop a game to H2K, because they would both be 3-3 in the group. EDG probably getting a few flashbacks.
I think so. A lot of fans as well. And the Chinese scene fans, the LPL fans, have had a lot of disappointment to deal with in Worlds so far. EDG getting out of this group would be pretty nice for them.
Yeah, funnily enough, ClearLove is the only remaining member from that EDG team that had the 3-3 group last year, but the brand is the same.
Before the great Korean exodus.
Yeah.
So Deft, a lot riding on this guy's shoulders this game, as we've already said, and Mako as well too. I mean, he's really got to go all out in terms of keeping this Jinx safe, keeping him away from the shockwaves, keeping everybody off of his AD carry.
Let's see, Kasing and Hjarnan here. Looks like calling the lane swap as they move up. They are going to take a peek in at the Gromp. This is dangerous.
Can they sneak through? They actually haven't been detected by vision here, and they're sending both. This could be a really high value disruption if they get there quickly.
Stun is up.
Gotta go quick.
Stun is up. They see the ward come in. Deft and Mako trying to come out the other side here. The sun could land. It will land on Mako. Decent amount of damage, and they don't get the Gromp. So neither team really gets any XP out of the deal, or any XP lead, I would say, out of the deal.
Deft actually has a 1 minute advantage experience-wise and the faster shove. So even though H2K disrupted that, they basically only get the matched lanes out of this. EDG doesn't want to lane against this at all. They don't want to go up against Bully, so they're immediately swapping.
Wow, that's
rare.
Bold.
They're falling so far behind on tempo for this play.
Well, this is a risk that they're going to take, right? Because they now say we don't want to lane against this Annie Callista combo, so we're going to sacrifice a certain amount of farm in order to make that happen. And that may put the Jinx behind, but they're saying it's better to be a few minions behind than the possibility of that kill lane coming through or them getting zoned off the wave entirely. But we'll see how exactly H2K is going to react.
Oh, they're going to find Amazing J. Walked right through the turret there. Amazing J could take some damage, but they can't really do anything with the turret. Focusing Kasing. Kasing taking a lot of damage there too. Amazing J could just take him out perhaps. Kasing, they pop that summoner heal. Amazing J taking a lot of damage in response. There's the Rend. Not enough on either side. That was kind of a crazy engagement. Now H2K, they want to go for the big 4-man dive here. Amazing J solo. Teleport comes in. No, it's canceled. And Amazing J could still be in trouble. Are they going to get first blood? Amazing J, they get him. First blood goes to Kasing, and they will get out fairly clean.
This is the way European teams and H2K lane swap. If you're going to be playing against this, you have to be able to send defense for your top laner. This is the second game in a row, well, with the Bangkok Titans game in between, that Amazing J has just been basically left for dead with poor support from his team. Yes, he is dying in these turret situations, but anyone would die in these turret situations. H2K get the very important first blood.
Yes, they do. And not only that, but credit to H2K here, because this was a really weird lane swap situation. It was a delayed lane swap, right? But they didn't miss a beat. They just adjusted on the fly very well in their comms to just moving up into that top side and playing as if really Deft and Mako had never even been in that lane.
Well, and in no sense was it a standard lane swap because Lulex went up there before level 3, so he didn't have the really OP Elise take turret aggro and repel after the kill to drop it. It was level 2 Elise that ended up ganking, and they even tried to move down early to preempt Amazing J getting under the turret, and then adapted mid-dive to still be able to continue despite all the damage Kasing took.
Well, they had to use that summoner heal. Now Pawn a little bit of trouble, takes a lot of damage from Ryu. To be able to get out, not needing to burn that flash just yet, but the pressure really being put on by H2K. Looks like the first turret in the game will go to EDG, probably, though. It's going to be pretty close, I think.
Yeah, both top laners are going to be left with the gold, however, so each team. But again, because of this issue with Amazing J and the fact that he did get dove early on, you kind of want to give the money to Jinx in that situation, especially to power up that late game.
I'm really confused by the way EDG is playing this because they are sending mixed messages as to what their overall goals and win conditions are, which makes me worried that they're not properly identifying what they need to do to win this game. Deft should have been given full turret experience, in my opinion, in that matchup because they're already putting him at a disadvantage when he initially swapped.
Especially because he's had to go back and get an Avarice Blade right now compared to the Vamp Scepter on Callista. And remember, they chose to dodge this lane.
Pawn takes a ton of damage.
So they chose to dodge this lane, and now they've put themselves in a prolonged power trough. And if they get into that anti-Callista lane again with an Elise ganking, it's going to be very difficult.
We saw the fan vote look pretty much dead even, 49% to 51%. And who in the world would have expected that, you know, even before today, perhaps?
Yeah, EDG has not opened up this game well. The one thing that they do have, though, is they've been successfully able to get Deft not up against opposition. He hasn't fallen far behind in CS, and he will be taking that Avarice Blade. EDG is very clearly going for a late-game strategy here, or at least a mid to late game strategy. Once Deft can complete 1 to 2 major items, and Pawn can get some powerful shields, but they have to be able to withstand until that point.
Pawn flashes out that shockwave. You trades the ultimate for the Summoner's spell.
Yeah, this should be a decently easy dragon for H2K if they want to, especially unless EDG wants to continue this turret push, because they are slightly ahead on this and Jinx takes turrets fairly quickly. Smart call by EDG to move for the second turret. That blocks the dragon.
Yeah, just keeping clear love in the lane right now, so no mysteries here for H2K, but they may just respond to walking through the mid lane and maybe be a little bit delayed on this response.
Yeah, this one seems a little bit slow. And this push is going to take up this turret very quickly if H2K allows it, and it kind of looks like they are.
Well, they've got very good wards in the enemy jungle, too. This was set up very nicely by EDG. But Kasing coming around, they're going to TP in. They may go for a play right here.
Well, he could land a stun. Still level 4, so no Tibbers, but that W, of course, is AoE, but no chance to engage there.
I think the play is just make up for lost time, because H2K was really behind on that play of the second turret pushing in side lanes. The fact that they were able to defend it, I think, saves that turret for a really long time.
Problem is with that play is sure they denied the dragon, but now they have easy farm for Fiora back next to the tier 2, and the freeze was already set up on the bottom side. The wave is pushing towards H2K, so there's a big farm denial they sort of gave themselves right here, but it's, I think, a worthy price to pay for the not losing the Dragon.
And Otto Omne's 3/4 of a level above Amazing J as far as experience goes. I think Fior's already a beneficial matchup against the Malphite. And yeah, now Amazing J is already... He's getting some decent ward coverage to try and stay safe, but once Fior hits level 6, which will be before Amazing J, there's actually kill threat 1v1.
Well, Pawn no flash here. Can they make a play? Pawn getting slowed down a little bit, going to whimsy himself to get away, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to get quite close enough to make that gank.
I don't know why they're focusing on this mid lane. If we take a look right now, there's just one ward in the river up in the top side where Amazing J is. I think that you go ahead and you use the Elise and the Annie to continually kill the Malphite and keep him down right now. Pawn is just too easy. Sure, his flash is down, but he has whimsy, he has a lot of tools, and he's playing pretty defensively in the lane.
Well, yeah, Malphite's still level 4. It looks like Lulex is going to be spotted by this ward, and Amazing J immediately pulling back. Yeah, wants to be a bit more safe there.
Look at the CS lead that's developed. Remember, when Otto Omne TP'd to that top lane turret, they were basically even. And now it's turned into a 13-36 lead.
It's because Otto Omne is so good in that matchup. I think that's one of the reasons that H2K is throwing so many ganks towards the mid lane, is because they don't really know what else to do. They've already gotten Otto Omne really far ahead, and EDG is walking around with a fortress of wards around Def, so he's not actually reachable. If anything, I think instead of ganking mid lane, they should actually be taking the Dragon to start that eventual timer, since EDG is very clearly trying to stall for the late game.
Well, you'd think they could have taken that Dragon a while ago now. Just giving a lot of time to it, I guess.
Yeah, especially you look at these CS differentials.
He'll get his CS here too.
Yeah, he'll get some CS here. But they're playing so defensively, you have to make a play right here. Either you have to commit to dealing with the Malphite or you need to do something more cross-map. Sure, you don't have TP, but Otto Omne has no reason to be in the top side right now. And they're giving up their blue for free.
Well, they're going to get spotted, but it's a little bit too late. Blue buff going to go over to Pawn. Meanwhile, fight in the top lane. Amazing J slowed down a little bit. Is Otto Omne going to go all in on this? Nope, too close to the turret.
Yeah, I think specifically they just split the map at not a very advantageous time. They went back for the Otto Omne play. They're trying to push in Amazing J, but they let him catch the minion wave, and it's a slight misstep here from H2K, I have to say.
If you're going to make this play with Annie and Elise, you're just a day late and $1 short, and EDG basically just gets a free Dragon right there. I mean, H2K starting this off strong, and I really like the position they were in, but they made some pretty massive misplays on the map right now, and EDG right back in it.
Well, it's like you said. I mean, it looks like they just kind of got a little bit lost. They had this lead, and they just didn't know what to do with it, and EDG knew exactly what to do from their position. They've come back from much bigger deficits today already.
EDG has been swapping Deft back and forth and back again to keep him away from the Callista Annie, and that part of their game has only been mildly successful. He's still down 12 CS, but at the very least, he picked up the early Avarice Blade and has already generated 190 gold from that aspect. But they're still going to have to be able to play this game of surviving and reswapping for a pretty long time before they're able to take advantage of it.
Well, as it stands right now, due to the Avarice Blade, he's only down about 50 gold. So it's not actually that big of a difference compared to what the CS says.
Yeah, with no kills or assists, kind of swinging things with that Avarice Blade.
Even turrets too, so.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Pawn, speaking of turrets, able to hold his in the mid lane.
Yeah.
For a little while at least.
There have been so many lane swaps from Deft here. And if H2K wants to capitalize on this, they either need to attack the lane swap or successfully attack the mid lane. But Pawn has been playing very defensively, 20 CS deficit, thanks to all that gank damage that he's been taking from H2K, and now they're going to head on the play on these turrets. Yarnin was slow pushing that other side.
They're going to get the wards in too.
Well, they're going to get the turret perhaps. H2K, a lot of people from each team moving up there. Turret will fall to EDG though.
EDG has been playing this really well. So every time they push up to that tier 2, you see Mako break off, get the wards in so they can map any kind of play that H2K wants to make, and they're going to get another turret that puts them 3-2, and that pretty much ties up the gold game.
Yeah, even though H2K has had a strong early game, where they've been specifically weak is their synergy between Lulex and Kasing. And we're seeing the synergy between Mako and Clearlove shine because they're getting their wards up much sooner, and their movements have been much more purposed.
Deft, Timbers comes down, gets picked up.
What are you going to do?
By Mako. Well, that play was Mako break, I guess you can say, but came out it for H2K.
It was actually both, really.
A little bit. Get that pink ward as well, too. Lulex, Cocoon. Get a little bit of damage onto Tom Kench. Silly spider. Tom Kench doesn't take damage.
Yeah, he's just going to regen it back up. He
Yep.
didn't.
He's a vicious fish,
The
man.
gray hell. 5 people on H2K in the mid lane here. They're kind of fed up with this lane swapping, so they still have to. They can still take advantage of Death's power drop, but they have to be able to keep a minion wave in front of this turret long enough to siege, and they just don't have the ability there because they have to respect the Malphite engage.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're H2K, you're never really going to be able to siege. Malphite is that ultimate siege breaker style of champion. Your strength was in the split push. Your strength was in an incredible CS lead on Otoamne, and H2K, they just haven't played well around who they needed to get farm on, where as EDG, it's just been about depth this entire game. They're very clear on what they want to do.
And it's really hard to tell with so much happening within this game, but when watching VODs about EDG, when they were at their best, they controlled Fog of War so incredibly well, being able to always recall from the right positions and making sure the enemy didn't know where they were rotating next. And that's really all that EDG has been doing. Both Jinx and Tahm Kench, if they have to lane up against Kalista and Annie, as well as Malphite versus Fiora, are losing lanes. Yet because they've timed their recalls, gotten the deep wards, and showed up in lanes in the right time, they're winning the turret game with losing side lanes, which is impressive for their overall control.
Yeah. You've almost got sort of a reverse Kalista on the other side, too, in terms of keeping that depth safe. As long as he sticks next to Tahm Kench, he can just be protected in Tahm Kench's loving mouth.
Need to see Kalista and Tahm Kench on the same team at one point. Just
I think so.
eat each other constantly.
How does it even work? Hit bait's call, can you like eat them on the way back? And then what
And then
happens?
like throw yourself and then spit them out afterwards.
It's like a bag of holding put into another bag of holding. Like, the universe just ends at that point.
I actually have no idea how those interactions would work.
I'm
I
kind
want
of
to know
scared to
that.
see it now. I don't know if I want to know.
I should know that. We need a support main.
I don't want time and space. Hey, what? Hey, come on. You didn't
a
say you
professional
needed a
support
Oh,
main.
okay, all right, all right. I'm not one of those.
I'm sorry, Dylan.
Well, neither is
You're
Kreko
forgiven.
anymore, so we're out of luck.
An ex-professional support main.
It's true.
This game, though, still pretty close for H2K. They haven't capitalized fully, but they still have Ryu farming up pretty substantially. He's not able to get a huge amount of burst from his Shockwave at this point, still level 10, but once he starts getting level 11, starts getting needlessly large rod in there, it's still going to be a massive Shockwave threat in fights.
Upon able to clear out that ward, and H2K a little bit worried about their mid lane turret right now, and also worried about this next dragon. Remember, EDG did manage to get the first one, despite H2K with a lot of opportunities. Can they equalize?
That's going to be the big question, and I really think they should have had that first dragon, but couldn't quite pull it off, and now they're aiming at number 2, but it will be coming in relatively late, so having 5 dragons is something that's going to be hard for them to get unless this goes into the very, very, very late game.
I'm really curious to see if EDG tries to fight this one. They have some big level disadvantages in their side lanes. Depth just hit 9, Yarnan's 10, Amazing J's only level 8.
Here we go.
It would be a huge fight win if they could get it, but I just don't think they've hit the item thresholds in order to contest. You have the Hydra and the Blade of the Ruin King completed for H2K, whereas EDG is components on Amazing J and components on Deft. It would be a huge power play for H2K to take a dragon fight here if EDG wants to contest.
Just keeping the mid wave pushed up for now. Dragon has spawned, but they haven't looked to start it yet. They've swept out the wards on the high ground in the river, so you see right there, Kasing just waiting, looking for a Tibbers, but I think it'd be quite similar to his last one with Mako lurking around on Tahm Kench.
Yep. Meanwhile,
You have to Tibbers the group.
yeah, they do go for the dragon. They get it. That's going to be their first of the game. And so that's a bit of a relief for H2K that they were able to secure that, avoid that O2 dragon deficit.
One of the things that I really like about EDG is they're very smart in the way they play around Dragon. They're not afraid to give up Dragons if they know they're in a power drop. That's really one of the things that I enjoy watching most about this team is they have good communication when that can happen. Here we go.
Whoa, Amazing J comes in, doesn't get anyone with the ult though, has to back away. Wild Growth used immediately. There's a knock on the clear left, saved by Mako. Deft doing a bit of damage, doesn't want to get too much closer though. That Shockwave still is off cooldown.
Do you like disengage? Well, boy, do I have 2 comps for you.
Well,
The repel.
Oh! Ouch.
Couple of missed ultimates there.
That was
Amazing J, unimpressive Shockwave.
the only shock with that one is that it didn't hit anybody.
Not many people on EDG can even dodge the Shockwave that well either. Sometimes you have these
missed.
poor Orianna compositions because it's against like a Lee Sin and you can just dodge around everything, but it's Lulu, Jinx, and Malphite and Tahm Kench, who are all kind of dashless outside of the ultimate on Malphite. Poor shot there by Ryu.
Wish Tahm Kench could just eat projectiles as they come towards.
No.
That'd be sick.
No.
It would be
sick.
for the one person in the game. Everyone else would be miserable.
It would make him sick. It would also make him Kirby, so.
Oh, that's true. Why stop now? Why not get that crossover going?
Oh, man. Well, another failed siege here. I just don't think that H2K is going to have success as a 5-man unit. That's not their ticket in this game. They need to get this split push actually rolling with Otoambe here.
Well, they may have the gold dead even, but they're still down a turret. The pressure's still on a little bit.
Yeah, this Tahm Kench blocks so much of what H2K actually wants to do.
Yeah.
Because it also gives EDG a get-out-of-jail-free card in team fights. If for some reason Deft is out of position and they would need to dump shields on him, they can actually wait until after the Tahm Kench has eaten him, taken him to a safe spot, then they can dump the shields on him. So really the only way H2K could get a big fight is if they can stun pretty much everyone. Like we ended up seeing in Origin's win over OGD at the early point of the week where Annie stunned like 4 people for a 4-man shockwave.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Tahm Kench trying to come in from behind here. Ryu's
got the
just
flash.
slow. Not bad. Gets caught by those flame choppers. Comes in. Timbers does work. Ryu throws a shockwave, but it's too late. Deft with the kill there. Kasing in a lot of trouble. Gets pulled back in by that Fate's Call, though. He's going to be just fine.
And now they're going to turn their sights to this mid lane, and there is no more wave clear for H2K, so EDG should have a pretty easy time busting down this turret. Again, Hjarnan no Luden's Hurricane yet, so there's almost nothing they can do to stop this from going through.
Yep. Mid turret goes down, and now it's going to be a 4-2 turret lead for EDG. And H2K, they've got to be starting to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, because EDG is taking control. They now get their Infinity Edge onto Jinx. The power trough that EDG is in is very quickly being erased, and H2K wasn't able to get split push going thus far. There's a multitude of ways EDG can actually force team fights, and they haven't fallen far behind from the early game.
Let's check this one out again. Tahm Kench comes in from behind, and Ryu just gets all the CC thrown on him.
Yeah, I love that they took Clear Love right there too, because Deft has the zap to zone in from the side. So don't go ahead and drop your AD carry too close to that turret, but he has a form of crowd control which gives Ryu enough pause for the Gragas to get into the fight and help secure that kill.
Yep. Mon just pushing up the lane a little bit. Still has his turret for the moment anyway. And so at what point does this pressure that EDG have turn into Baron pressure? It's got to be pretty soon.
Well, if you're EDG at literally any moment, the next team fight they get.
Yeah, especially if Deft is able to stay alive.
If they can win this next dragon fight.
I think most of it has to do with the team fight first and then a sneak. Unless H2K completely gets lackadaisical with their vision control. It could also start if they can stop Otoambe from split pushing, which is a possibility. The deep wards, as far as H2K are concerned, are mostly non-existent, which makes their split push really hard to accomplish, which means their Baron vision gets much lower. So if the trends hold true from the past 5 minutes, I'd say a sub 30-minute Baron for EDG is not out of the question.
Certainly could be. Pawn partying in the mid lane. And this next dragon up in 1:10 about EDG. They can take it. They'll be pulling a lead in every category except for kills.
They're getting so much vision control right now that it's going to make the dragon much easier to take.
Yeah. Man, Amazing J is way down in CS, but you know, if the Fiora can't seem to split push, it doesn't really make a big difference, does it?
Yeah.
Well, they're not warding for Fiora to split push. There's literally no wards south of the river right now. So even though H2K, I think, had a very good draft, and they started out this game very strongly, they have really let this one slip through their fingers. EDG came out with a rather weak early game, a very punishable early game, and we've seen SK Telecom really just hammer them when they make mistakes like this. But EDG was able to sort of weasel their way back into this game with some just consistent lane swapping of the Jinx, and H2K simply picking the wrong places on the map to focus.
It seems like this is kind of the story of H2K's tournament, right? Is that they've been doing okay early on, a little bit in the mid, and then it just seems to consistently fall apart a little bit. And not by a lot. They just can't seem to make the exact right move at the exact right time. They can juggle 3 balls, 4 is a bit tough.
You got to do 2 in each hand if you're juggling 4 balls.
That's
you cannot
tough,
do a normal cascading pattern.
That's really hard. I can only do 3.
I can speak from experience. Really? You can juggle? We have Hawk and juggling.
I can juggle too.
Wow, we should just have a try juggling cast now. Need to make this happen.
It'd be quite difficult. I'm not at that level.
Even so, the vision control for EDG is decently strong around the Dragon here, and I think this is the type of fight they're willing to take. We mentioned the CS discrepancy from Amazing J. Not that important because he's still Malphite when it comes to team fights, unless H2K gets the split push going, which is what they're going for right now. Love the call by EDG to push up mid.
Yep, they're going right for that tier 2 turret in mid lane. I mean, they do lose their tier 2 in bot, and Odoamne is going to continue pushing. EDG turning this one around. They might be able to catch somebody here. Lulex throws out the cocoon, doesn't connect. Garnet
okay,
needs
to get apocalyptic.
Oh boy, here comes the Tahm Kench. Comes in, is he close enough? Amazing J caught up a little bit. They're going to jump onto Yarnin right away here. Yarnin flashes away, doesn't get CC'd. Going to pull in his Annie, his support. Still gets taken out. Amazing J with the kill there. And Kasing in a lot of trouble as he gets back to the Baron. But the Baron's not going to help you, man. You got a flash, but you don't have it. No flash for you, you're dead. And there's a bot lane out of commission for H2K. Baron helping out a little bit, and perhaps that Baron damage is enough to keep EDG from pursuing this fight.
The Abyssal Voyages for Mako have been so on point, and they're really generating a lot of positive plays for EDG. That was a really extended back and forth play, and because of all the quick movements around the map, H2K did lose their coordination a little bit, and that's exactly when the Abyssal Voyage came in to give them the right start to that team fight.
I think H2K just had to pull the trigger earlier. You'll notice that Odoamne did not use teleport right there, and they allowed themselves to be carved up on the map as a result and get split. Meanwhile, the TP, so Odoamne comes in right here, but had he teleported more up towards the river, there could have been a play made, perhaps.
Yeah, Odoamne was already on the run from what he thought was an expected collapse, so kind of a disaster. Sharner would have been dead either way, it feels like. The tank lines were just in the right position for EDG, and, well, H2K doesn't actually have a tank line, so they need clean initiations. Getting engaged on is never good when you're running this squishy of a team.
That way. H2K in quite a bit of trouble now, despite the fact that the gold is still pretty even.
Yeah. That does actually remind me of a really critical point as far as what EDG has put together here. They have very strong disengage and a protect the Jinx composition, but these comps are even better when you can just kill frontline. Since no one on H2K is actually tanky enough to take even 5 or 6 hits from the Jinx. So once they speed Jinx up, the game will just be over if EDG gets even a little bit more momentum because H2K doesn't have proper tank lines.
Well, now we're going to see, can H2K use this teleport advantage to its fullest degree? Because that's what they've got going for them. They're still relatively even in gold, and Odoamne, by not using his TP in that last fight, is going to put some pressure down onto this bottom side, but the rest of his team has to be doing something else. Looks like they will be trying to clear out some vision in the mid lane and push forward, but there's a lot of EDG wards on that Baron.
Yeah, there's no dragon to try to take, so the Baron can be the focus. But EDG,
they all
may
sitting
be ready to spring a trap, yeah.
So there's plenty of knowledge to try and set up a trap.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult for Odoamne to get the safe split push because there's not enough disengage on H2K to stop the engage from EDG.
Guess we just start the Baron.
That burnt the teleport. So much for the TP advantage.
Yep.
And he canceled it too, so they can just go right back on and he has to walk. This is great for EDG.
Yeah, they're going to get a lot of damage in on that Baron, but can they finish it off? H2K coming in. They want to contest it. EDG backing off right away. They're going to take down the Rift Scuttler just for a little bit of extra vision as they move back to the mid lane. So H2K able to stop the Baron, at least for now anyway, but I don't think EDG is too bothered by that. They can keep waiting this one out.
Right, and they're going to get a TP advantage for at least a brief time, and that is going to force Fiora to group up, which is exactly what EDG wants. They want the 5v5. They want H2K to group, so just play a methodical game here. Wait for them to be in your pocket before you actually try and take a fight.
Tahm Kench's mouth pocket. Gross.
Wait till they're in the Kench.
Gross but effective.
Yeah, it's true. Disgusting but effective. We need like a Tahm Kench skin that yells, "It's a trap" when he comes out of his ult or something. That'd be sick, man.
What we need is somebody with a really strong arm to be noodling. We were talking about this earlier, where noodling is what you do with a catfish. You like stick your arm into a hole in a swamp, and the catfish latches onto your arm and you pull it out. It's basically one of the more dangerous kinds of fishing because you don't know what's going to be in the hole. Is it an alligator? Is it a water snake? Who knows?
One of the most manly ways to go fishing.
If you like to lose fingers to snapping turtles, sure. It is manly. So who would have an arm strong enough? Probably Tryndamere if he dropped his sword.
I think
noodles to the top catch.
I would pick Victor because he can just stick his third metal arm in there. He doesn't need to worry at all.
Just build a new one. He is the perfect.
He's like, I've got spares at home. I can noodle all day. Well, taken out of context, that sentence. Yeah.
If you just tuned in right now,
we're talking about noodling. Wait, no, let us explain. It's a kind of fishing.
Also, I learned an alternative name is catfisting.
Well,
Blitzcrank can handle that one.
I'm sure that's not getting spammed in Twitch chat right now. I have complete confidence.
What I think is even more interesting, though, is Ottawamne split pushing bottom without teleport. Because it puts them in a pretty difficult situation. Yeah. They don't have strong vision control over Baron, and if anyone gets picked off, it's a free Baron for EDG because it would take him so long to go up there. Amazing J has the teleport advantage in the bottom lane, and it makes H2K's push in the mid lane pretty difficult.
Yeah, I would say. They're not really doing much with it right now, though. Amazing J just trying to stop the split push. Do you think they should just go for Baron instead?
I think they definitely have that option if Amazing J wants to go ahead and TP up there. Question is, how fast can they actually take it? The answer is pretty fast. You can see Deft right now not even bothering building Last Whisper. There's no armor, so who cares, really?
Specifically, the Bloodthirster is the survivability that they're really going to need. If no one can immediately get onto Deft and kill him, he will win the fight based on sustained damage capabilities. It does seem like EDG is still just playing this mostly slow. It is still very risky for them to go for a straight-up Baron against an Orianna and an Anti-Calista combo. I mean, maybe they actually set up a kill on Ottawamne here.
Maybe.
He needed to block that slow. He needed to block it.
Oh, Pawn coming in. They got the flash. Teleport back up now for Ottawamne. But he's lucky to get out with his life.
Well, they actually, EDG really waited that one out. I think they had a pretty good opportunity to make a play around that teleportless split push, but not going to make much of a difference. So they did blow Ottawamne's flash on that, and this gave H2K time to regain vision control over Baron, considering how much EDG committed to the bottom side of the map right there.
H2K trying to find a fight here, and they're going to find Clearlove. Not pulling the trigger on that one, though. They're going to go for Mako. Mako pretty tanky, backs off. There's the shield. He's going to be just fine. Flame Chompers drop down. Yarnin goes in, gets some damage onto Def. Kosik trying to help out. They miss the stun. And now Clearlove back in with the re-engage. So much damage coming from EDG. Deft is getting excited, and all the fans of EDG are too. As Lulex and Ryu runs away, here comes the Kench, and he's going to get the slow onto Ryu. Can they catch him? Trying to get there a little bit too low health. One more hit, though. Could do it. Two more hits. Can he eat him? They're not going to need you. Ryu gonna go down. Another kill for Def. That is 4 for 0. A near flawless team fight for EDG.
That may be the clinching fight that moves EDG into the quarterfinals. They've been waiting for that setup for so long, and honestly, this game has been heavily about the catch. They didn't even need Amazing J's Malphite ultimate to pull that one off.
Yeah.
Unless it came back off cooldown during the chase. I'm pretty sure it didn't.
No, I don't think it did, but doesn't matter. Lulex down anyway. They've got a couple people still over at that Baron, so we have 31-minute Baron take for EDG. And it's been a bit of a sloppy game from both sides.
Early on, it was sloppy for EDG, I would say, but I would say the last 15 minutes have been quite clean. When they fully committed to getting to the late game, I think EDG has played this quite well. And it's okay for Tahm Kench to face check things because he is Tahm Kench. Look at the shielding he was able to get, and then disagree with the flash in, because Sing, such a critical miss.
Crucial Tibbers, and that damage.
Well, when you start grouping up in a choke point like that, after you miss onto Def, the rockets are going to come through, the Gragas barrel's going to come through, and there's not a lot of hope right there.
Oh,
H2K wanted to make the pick, didn't make the pick, and then they lost the 5.
They're on a ward. Clearlove going in, another explosive cast. Kasing destroyed immediately. Clearlove held up a bit, big shockwave, but no follow-up. So EDG is going to be just fine. Ryu on the run again, going to try to teleport out. Not going to make it. Mako with a bloodthirsty kill. He licked him.
First kill of the game. Congratulations to Tom Kench. EDG in full control right now. They have the Baron buff. They've also picked up 2 kills, which means they can push this through very aggressively as long as they go catch the minion wave.
Yeah.
Without Azonias or anything like that, any armor whatsoever. I mean, with the Jinx already completing this Bloodthirster, really nothing going to stop Deft, especially since he has about a million ways not to die in these team fights. Tons of protection from Tom Kench, tons of protection from Lulu.
Yeah.
Deft really running away with this one.
Oh, Baron letting them push down these turrets so easily. This is going to be a simple inhibitor, and this could be the game. EDG trying to secure their second place spot. They can do it with a win right here.
Jarden is still finishing off a turret, so they know they have some time before
they do.
We can get back.
And they're going to do some damage to these Nexus turrets. One goes down. H2K needs one last fight. Amazing J goes in under Ryu. Ryu gets evaporated. Lulex running for his life, and Odoane can't participate. There it goes. And in the end, H2K says, "Do you have a win?" And EDG says, "Go fish." That is it. EDG takes second place.
Wow. Well, EDG, surprising. Not their best day of League of Legends. We do expect more out of these guys, but they clutched it. They found a way to win. They play around Deft in this last game, and Deft delivers.
Ultimately, EDG is not punished, and they now have a week to prepare for the quarterfinals because this group is set SK